businesses need certainty to invest. The idea that when I put my money, especially when we put money in a fixed investment, building things, building factories and all of that stuff, you need certainty that I will be able to get a decent return on the investment, and that I will not find myself in a situation where I'm expropriated, right? So those things matter. They sound like soft things, but if you think about it, to invest you need capital, and that capital is often owned by people who held no other interest in South Africa, in the Southern Africa region, other than to make a return on investment. And so we've got to make it attractive to them and say, we are a region that's open to investment. We will do everything to make sure that you are able to produce in our region and do so profitably. So that's one of the major things that is important for investment.
So what then would you say are the major steps that you've taken towards ensuring that all these investors that you're mentioning now will come and give South Africa, the SADC region, the money that it requires?
So I think what is important is to recognize that firstly, SADC is a bloc of 16 countries. I think the great thing about having, and they are referred to as regional economic communities, the great thing about having these communities is that you get all of these countries to start to talk about the same thing, right? If there's a problem in the region, so let me make an example about moving goods from one country to another, a big problem at our border post, right? When you've got all of these countries sitting around the table and saying this is a problem that is limiting trade, you can then begin to have solutions. Similarly, if you think about a sector like pharmaceuticals, right? You produce, so we have Aspen in South Africa producing pharmaceuticals. The difficulty of having to have that product registered in 16 different countries or 54 different countries on the African continent just makes it difficult. So having these countries in either a regional bloc or a continental bloc where you try to harmonize the rules to make it easy for that. So these are important things. Also, because each of these countries are too small a market on their own, right? It would not make sense to locate in one of the smaller countries, but it makes sense when you know that locating here, I can access the 390 million people within SADC, right? So having a regional body like that creates a bigger market, but it also helps with harmonizing the rules and removing some of the barriers to trade and investment.
Yeah. Just to bring it back to the men on the street, for someone, Osemlazi, Inanda and Duzuma, what does this week mean for them and how would it benefit them?
So there are a couple of things here. There are obviously policy conversations that will happen where you have government representatives and business representative organizations like ours, where we can put to the governments the challenges as we see them from the business point of view. So that's one level at which this helps. Those issues generally tend to be the same for smaller and bigger enterprises. The only difference is that a bigger enterprise might have the money and the resources to solve for that, but the problem is the same. If there's a problem at the border, it's a problem for everybody. The fact that a bigger company might be able to navigate that is nothing. And then the second layer of issues that we'll be dealing with here. For instance, there's an exhibition center there where we've allowed space for all producers in the Southern African region, and with Durban being a host, the majority there are people from Durban, right? So they get to be able to say, this is what we produce. They were telling us, some of them, that we produce this much, but we have scope to produce much further. So these opportunities are actually exposing that capability, especially by smaller firms and enterprises.
This is Ubuntu Radio.
A product of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, South Africa.